guys. All right, so for this lesson, we are going to learn how to divide a whole number by a unit fraction. We're going to split up our dividing fractions unit into two different parts. So this part will be part one. It's going to be dividing a whole number by a unit fraction. A unit fraction, remember, is when you have a fraction that has a numerator of 1 part out of however many parts in the denominator. So these two questions, these are going to be real world problems that you could see in your everyday life on how you would need to know how to divide fractions. So this first one says, Jeremiah made 3 pints of fruit punch after school. He pours the fruit punch into bottles that each hold half of a pint. How many bottles will he be able to fill with fruit punch? So I want you to think about if you have 3 bottles or 3 pints of fruit punch, we're just going to draw it out. 1, 2, 3 pints of fruit punch. So each of these is a 1 pint serving. So we're going to have the whole number 3. And it's being divided or split up into half pint servings. So that means we're going to be dividing our 3 pints by 1/2 size pint servings. So we're just going to take each of these 3 pints and we're going to split them in half. So if you can imagine that each of these fills up a bottle, how many bottles would we be able to fill? Well, we can just count by 2s. 2, 4, 6. So our answer would be 6 bottles of fruit punch. All right. So our equation would be 3 pints divided by 1/2 pint serving. So you're saying how many halves are in 3? Well, a half plus a half makes a whole, and you have 3 servings, so that's 6 bottles. Okay, that's number 1, by the way, on your worksheet if you're following along there. All right, guys, we are going to now look at number 2. If you'll go across your page to the right, we're still dividing a whole number by a unit fraction. So in this case, we have Mr. Radford has a wood board that is 5 feet long. He wants to cut the board into small blocks that will each measure 1/3 of a foot. How many blocks will Mr. Radford be able to make out of the board? So if you can envision a long 5-foot board, I'm thinking like a plank. And let's just partition, let's show our 5 feet. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet. And it says that he wants to cut the board into small blocks that will each measure 1/3 of a foot. So in this case, what is being divided? Our 5-foot board is being split or divided into 1/3 foot segments. So our problem is 5 feet divided by 1/3 feet, and we want to know how many pieces we're going to end up with. So we're going to say, okay, I've got to third each foot in the 5-foot board. A minute ago when I was working this out, I just thirded the whole board, but you've got to make sure that you're thirding each foot. So we have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Now we're going to third each one of these. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Again, again, again. And so I'm going to outline this in another color so you can kind of see it. I have 3/3 5 times. It's pretty messy, but maybe you'll get the point. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 total pieces. That each measure 1/3 of a foot. All right, guys, we're going to transition now into the second part of this lesson. Our first part, we focused on having a whole number that was being divided by a unit fraction. On this portion of the lesson, we're going to have a fraction of something that we're splitting into a whole number of parts. So there's going to be 2 questions here that we're going to go through. The first one is the third problem. It's on that top row on your paper. It says, after the dinner party, there's 1/4 of a pumpkin pie left in the refrigerator. 3 people want to share the leftover pie equally. What fraction of the whole pie will each person get? So we're going to use an area model to solve this, but first we need to figure out what is the equation? What's being divided? Are we dividing up the pumpkin pie or are we dividing up the people? Well, we're dividing up the pumpkin pie between 3 people. So we're going to start out by writing our equation. 1/4 of a pie, so I'm going to write 1/4 pie, is being divided by 3 people. And we want to know what fraction of the pie does each person get. So I'm just going to model this. I'm going to say, okay, let's say this was my whole pie. Normally we would see it in a pie shape, but we were going to stick with rectangles for this lesson. So if I have 1/4 of the pie, I'm just going to represent that by shading this 1/4 size piece. So if you can envision that being 1/4 of the pie, and now we're going to split that up between 3 people. So I want to know how much is each person or just one person going to get. So I'm going to say, all right, we got to split that up. Let's third it. So one person gets this piece, one person gets this piece, one person gets this piece. So if you think about each person is getting 1 out of how many total pieces were in the whole pie. Since our question says, what fraction of the whole pie will each person get? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pieces in the entire pie. So each person is getting 1/12 of the pie. Now, if you remember back to whenever we were multiplying fractions, we said that you could think of it this way, 1/3 of a 4th, because each person really is getting 1/3 of what's left over. So if I could rewrite this problem, I could rewrite it as a multiplication problem, because multiplication and division are directly related. So if I had 1/4 of a pie, each person is getting 1/3 of it. Well, what does of mean? Multiply. So 1/3 of 1/4 of a pie would be 1/12, which is what we got from our model. All right, we're going to transition now into example number 4. For example number 4, this is talking about a relay race. It says the track for the relay race is 1/2 of a mile long. If 3 runners split the distance of the track evenly during the relay race, what is the distance each person ran? So I'm going to use, again, an area model for this, but like we did before, first we've got to write our equation. What is being split up? The people, the runners, or the distance? The distance. So our distance is 1/2 mile. And it's being split evenly between how many runners? 3. And we want to know what is the distance each person ran. So think with me about 1/2. So let's say from here to here is going to be our entire mile. So they're only running 1/2 of the mile. So this is the distance being ran. Well, it's being divided by 3 runners. So there's 2 different ways that you could work this. You could first say, all right, one runner is going to go 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So you could say that 1/2 right there, if you see that, is being divided into 3 equal parts. But remember, to find our denominator, you have to know how many parts are in the whole. So this would be, each of these pieces would be 1 runner. All right, so we said that each runner ran 1 of these parts. So that means that each runner ran one out of how many total parts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember, your denominator always refers to the whole. So each runner ran 1/6 of a whole mile. So 1/6 mile would be your answer. Now, this model looked a little bit different than our normal area model. So let's see what that would look like in our normal area model. We would have 1/2, which would be this distance, divided by 3 people. We'll use the color red here. So we're going to third our 1/2. So each runner ran 1 out of 6 total parts, which is the same thing that we got up here. Remember, our division and multiplication are always directly related. So you could think about each runner is running a third of the distance. So if you have 1/3 of, which means multiply, 1/3 of the distance, 1/3 of 1/2 is 1/6, which is what we got from our model as well. All right, so that finishes up our second example that we did. We just want to remind you guys that we are here for you. We've made these videos so that you could rewind and go back over them. I would recommend you start over the video when it finishes and use a piece of notebook paper, write these down with us, draw out these models, practice it. If you can show it to somebody else and you can prove how to do it to a sibling or a parent, then that means you've owned the information and you can do it on your own. We are here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, from 10 to 2. We're on call, so you can call us on Google Voice. You can send us an email. You can text us on Remind. We are here for you guys. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We love you. We're here for you. We'll talk to you later. Bye.